All right, welcome everyone to the program. And we have a very special guest with us. His name is Lou Moore. Lou got the political bug at the early age of 5. He stayed up half the night watching the 1960 Kennedy-Nixon election results. In 1964, he doorbelled with his mother, a precinct captain for Barry Goldwater. Lou was an adjunct faculty member teaching American history at Western Washington University when he started doing politics professionally. He served as chief of staff for Congressman Jack Metcalf from Washington. Lou was the executive director of the Northwest Marine Conservation Initiative when he helped form the 2008 presidential campaign for Ron Paul, who I'm sure everybody's heard of, right? In June 2007, he joined Dr. Paul's campaign staff as national manager of the campaign and remained in that position until the campaign ended. And since then, Lou has done business, governmental, and political consulting, and served for 3 years as the president and CEO of the Washington Research Council and moved to Provo, Utah in 2018, where his focus has been on historical research. Lou Moore has been a student of politics and American populism since 1970. And his first book, Forerunner, The Unlikely Role of Ron Paul, described the populist forces unleashed by the Paul campaign that ultimately resulted in the victory of Donald Trump in 2016. In 2021, Lou joined 4 other Utah citizens, 2021, excuse me, in sponsoring a Utah state ballot initiative, the Secure Vote Act of 2022. It will return the state to a in-person voting with paper ballots in legislative and local precincts, which will be hand counted on site and the results announced publicly from each location. So yeah, welcome so much, Lou.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me pull this up for you. I understand you have a presentation for us. Okay, am I on the right?
Yep, you're there. You're
okay.
There.
Yeah, so glad you could join us. So tell us about this initiative, Lou. What should we know about it?
Sure. Well, initiatives beget petitions, and we need you to sign a petition. So our initiative can go on the ballot as what they call direct legislation, or an initiative to the people, and change our voting system in the state of Utah. So try to get this to click here, and it's not. It's not working. Anyway, as Eldon said, what we want to do, this law is pretty all-encompassing of almost a 500-page election code that we now have in Utah. By the way, it was only about 60 pages in 1953, so they have added a ton of stuff to the election code, like all of the rest of government and the legal system. But we went in and made I think a pretty thorough attempt at changing the election system, restoring and very much strengthening the photo ID requirements. But the center of it is in-person voting in your neighborhood at the precinct, where it will also be counted. So here we go. Now we seem to be in business. And so, you know, a lot of us have seen what's been happening in the country the last few years. And a lot of times we don't know what we can actually do to make a difference. And Eldon has a number of answers to that question of what you can do to make a difference, but this is certainly one of them. You can take action to restore the election system in this state to its safe condition as it was for many decades. So, how do I advance?
Yeah, just
so
let
I
me
don't know
know
if you know who that guy is, but he's your governor. and his name is Spencer Cox. And Spencer Cox, before he was a governor, was the lieutenant governor and the architect of our current election system, centered on vote by mail and machine tabulation of the ballots. He has said, and he said this pretty recently, about a month ago, that, quote, Utah has long been a model to the nation when it comes to voting and voter security. Really? So what do the experts say? He says we're a model to the nation, but what do people like the Heritage Foundation and the National Conference of State Legislators say? Well, the Heritage Foundation said that and they said this in their newly released 2021 election integrity scorecard. They ranked Utah 41st in election integrity among the 50 states and the District of Columbia, just above New York. I wouldn't say that organization thinks that highly of our current election system. I'm struggling with this a little bit. Here we go. So the Conference of State Legislatures is an organization that does a lot of research that's used by state legislators. A lot of times a state legislator in Oklahoma or in Utah doesn't have a very big staff, and they use this organization to do research for them. And they did research into voter ID requirements in 2020. They found Utah's voter ID law non-strict, which means it's not very good. And most of the states that had voter ID laws were rated strict. They didn't really break it down any more than that. But and getting more to the point, even though this is an older report, this is the Federal Commission on Election Reform. Jimmy Carter and James A. Baker co-chaired this committee. They had a huge staff, ton of people, ton of experts. And even they said that vote by mail shows no evidence that it actually increases turnout, which is something you hear all the time. And you hear our governor say all the time that our election system is so great because it increases turnout. But there's really no evidence of that. In 05 and in 2022, it raises concerns about privacy. So, you know, you're voting, you might leave it in your house, somebody might steal it. And that's if you get the ballot to vote on it. And it certainly does, as they said back then, increase the risk of fraud. So I don't know if anybody listening today watches the TV show War Room with Steve Bannon, but he has a pollster on there quite regularly by the name of Richard Barris. And Richard did a poll for us not too awful long ago. It was late summer of last year. And because I wanted to see, I mean, do we have any chance of changing this vote by mail system? I had gone and talked to a couple of county clerks, and they said, oh my goodness, this is the most popular thing we've ever done. We've taken surveys. Everybody likes vote by mail. Nobody wants to go back to that precinct voting. But Richard found that indeed, you know, it's pretty popular to vote by mail. It's convenient. A lot of people like it. But when they are given some information that gives them the understanding that it's not as safe or as secure as voting in person, over 80% support integrity over convenience, and 88% said they would be willing to go back to voting in the precinct. So that was very, you know, very encouraging for us. I'm just having a little trouble with these slides. Okay, so my question is, I mean, there's polling data, but how many people do you know that are concerned about election integrity in America? My wife has a business. People come in and out every day. This is a constant topic, and she does not have to bring it up. People are concerned about what happened in 2020. And in fact, national polls now are showing almost half of Americans do not believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president. So what we're introducing is something that was in the system for for decades here in Utah. It's a proven alternative. So we believe with the polling data we have, anecdotal information, people we talk to, we believe that we could do this, that we can get this put on the ballot and be successful. And in politics, timing is everything. And at one time, the conventional wisdom said that, you could only win if you had, if you had the resources of the special interests. And maybe that was true for a while when TV ads dominated campaigning. But a lot of candidates have shown now, Ron Paul, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, a lot of candidates have shown that with the internet and small donations, they can be just as competitive as the candidates who have the special interest money. So we believe that this is now the time also when initiatives can be that way. Most initiatives are funded by large interests, and this one is not. But we believe the time has come that we can rely on the citizens and rely on donations from the citizens to be successful with this. So as Eldon said, what we're proposing is the Secure the Vote Act of 2022. And just briefly going through what it does, it requires photo ID to vote, it requires photo ID to register, and it requires photo ID to ask for an absentee ballot and to turn one in. You must have a copy of your photo ID, even if you have an absentee ballot. And you do vote by mail. So the system will return to in-person voting. But as it was years ago, if you cannot go to the polls, you can vote an absentee ballot, but it's one election at a time, and you have to sign an affidavit explaining why you can't show up at the polls. One of the worst things about elections in these last few years, Eldon mentioned, it's in my biography, but when I was 5 years old, I stayed up with my mother all night watching I believe the closest presidential election in history between Nixon and John F. Kennedy, and well over 100 million votes. It was settled that night. It didn't go on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And we're getting used to this now, that these elections go on for days and days. It's not right. And with our system, they count the vote in the precinct, and they keep counting until all the votes are counted. There may be a few come in from overseas that are not late, that are legitimate votes, but almost all the votes will be counted on election night. And even more importantly, today, an observer, if you volunteer to be an observer and you go down to your local county clerk's office, you're just going to see a bunch of whirling machines around you. You're not going to actually watch any votes be counted. And this system with a hand count, you will see one by one, if you're an observer, they'll have access, the campaigns will have access, the political parties, you'll see the votes counted, and that's how it should be. So this is another feature. We actually got this feature from a fellow by the name of Kurt Hyde, who's on the council of JBS. And he persuaded me this was a very good idea to have sample audits that are quite small, 1 or 2 precincts. And a candidate can say, I believe, maybe I was a victim of voter fraud. And he could pick the 1 or 2 precincts that he believes are most likely locations where that fraud occurred, and have the county do a full forensic audit in a week, from a week after the election to 2 weeks after the election. So within 2 weeks, the public will have some indication as to whether this was a clean election or not. So our elected officials, a lot of the concerns we have been brought to them. Representative Steve Christiansen, who is a big supporter of this initiative and has helped me on it a great deal, tried to bring them information to indicate we should change the voting system. They weren't listening. And so we need to act to protect our election system and our Republican form of government here in Utah. So 5 Utah citizens, as Eldon mentioned, sponsored this petition drive to put the Secure the Vote Act on the ballot. We're going to need 138,000 signatures plus. 138,000 is the requirement of law. You always need more than is required because they do everything they can to throw out signatures. So obviously we need signature gatherers. We need people to coordinate the signature gatherers. We need locations where we can have petitions signed, where we can have people come pick up literature, pick up information. We need targeted precincts. We are going to do doorbelling. We've already beta tested this a little bit. And I mean, there are some neighborhoods in this state where every house you can find people that are concerned about this election. So there's no reason not to do it. We just need all the campaign stuff. We need help with literature and signs as well. So this is a petition-driven process. That's our petition right there. And it has the seal of the Lieutenant Governor. And we are printing thousands of these. We've already distributed well over 1,000 of these, what we call petition packets. And let's go through a little bit about them. So if you wanted to help us, a petition would be issued to you. It has its own tracking number. That's right there. And these petitions are for one county only. I guess that already, the yellow marker, oh, there it is. In other words, we have to turn these into county clerks. So, this is one more little hurdle we have to deal with, is that book that you see there will be assigned to a county, and every signature in that book has to be a person that is a registered voter or is registering on the spot with you and lives in that county. And we need to track progress because we have to get to that 138,000. We also need to have so many, and it's a different number in every state Senate district. We need a certain number. It's between 3,000 and 7,000, depending on the state Senate district. We have to hit those numbers as well. So we need to keep in touch with the people that are out there helping. Don't sign and if you're willing to do this for us, don't sign the petition you're carrying. Not as a citizen that wants this law. There's another place that you will have to sign when you go to turn it in, but you have to sign somebody else's petition as far as supporting the law itself if you're a signature gatherer. The other thing is, the real dynamite on this, do not add or remove pages. And that might sound kind of funny, but this is a 35-page booklet or 35-sheet booklet with about 70 pages in it. And there's a number of signature pages, and some people get the bright idea of just adding a few more pages because, they may have their book filled and we haven't got them another one, but don't do that. So what do you need to get a signature? You need that petition packet we just talked about. You need a notification card, which is a white business card that looks just like that. This is a government requirement. They want you to give these to every single person. So you come to the conclusion that this initiative is too expensive and that you can remove your name from the initiative. But the people you deal with don't have to take one. You do have to have them with you. We are printing them diligently, but you don't have to give one to somebody unless they want one. You have to ask them if they want one. The third thing you need is a Utah resident that's 18 years or older. They don't have to be a registered voter at the time you talk to them, but you have to register them if they're not already a registered voter. So what you do, we talked about what you need. So what do you do as a signature gatherer? You ask them if they want to read the bill. This is the law. The bill, entire bill, which is in this version with this point type, is about 60 pages. is in this petition packet. That's what the bulk of it is. And but only the underlined words, which are far less than the total size of this, is our changes. I'm not going to explain all that now. If you want to know why, I can explain it to you. But anyhow, our changes are only about 10 pages. So you have to ask them that. Most people, almost everybody will say, I do not want to read the bill. You need to look up their registration. And you can do that through the Lieutenant Governor's office in just a second. I hope we're going to see the URL for that. And you need to enter their name, address, and date of birth, if possible, exactly the same as the registration shows it. And we have a new database. We're just rolling it out now. I'm not going to get into all that with you today, but if you decide you want to help us, you will probably be finding out about it. It is very fast to look up names. It also will allow us to track every place we got a signature, help us keep track of all these state Senate districts. But right now you can't go to votesearch.utah.gov to get registration information. Quite a few people that are registered are not on that list. I will also not go into that detail, but we try the best we can to look them up, because if things are not exactly the same when they sign is what's on the registration, that is a cause for the clerk to throw the name out. So please make sure everything is filled out legibly, and it's better if you do that, unless you have really bad handwriting, but they have to sign it, obviously. And you can even afterwards say, oh, dang it, I didn't get the date of birth. You probably can find that on the voter registry. And you're allowed to fill the rest of it out after the person leaves, just not obviously the signature. So you can register them, as I said. Same deal, when you fill out the registration, fill it out exactly the same on in the petition. And you ask them if they want a notification card. And then if available, if we have enough of them for you, which we are printing these like 50,000 a week, give them a Slim Jim and warn them that they may be asked to have their name removed by a campaign that will undoubtedly start to get people to do that. Even though we're on a short time frame, but that's the norm here in Utah. And so it's unusual, rather than giving somebody a Slim Jim or a piece of literature to convince them that they should join with us, we think there's so many people out there that are with us. We just need to find them, but we do need to make sure they have some information so somebody else doesn't talk them out of it. And plus, it's just good to use when you're talking to your friends, and I'll show you that in just a second. So managing the packet. So I'm not quite sure the best way to, okay. So we have this slogan, one packet, one county, one manager. So as I said before, when you get people to sign your petition, they have to all be in the same county. Now you may travel or to more than one county regularly. You may live on the border of a county, or you may just want to go other places and get signatures. That's fine. We'll issue you more than one packet, but those packets have to go back to county clerks, and they're supposed to deal with people that are in different counties that are all in one signature packet, but they don't generally do that. So, and then you have to be the responsible party, or it has to be one responsible party for each of these packets. You can't just hand it around among your friends or family, because you have something you have to sign at the back of this. But we'll get to that in a second. Before you turn it in, check each signature listing, make sure the address is legible, that it's on there, date of birth if possible, the name is legible, and then you sign a verification on the last page, and I'll show you that in just a moment, what that looks like. So this might be a little weird, but we have to do it. Before you turn this in, you need to take a picture of the front page of the packet, because that's where the serial number is. You need to take a picture of each signature page, of which we've changed this and we're getting a new printing today, but I believe there will be 58 signatures, so 29 pages. Anyway, each each one of these pages, 2 signatures to a page, you need to have a picture of it and a picture of your signature and verification on the back. And then you turn that in to a county or regional manager or to the headquarters of this initiative. And we are getting regional managers all over, but we're still standing up. I'm going to try to do this very quickly. We're still standing up our organization. We have them in about half the counties right now. So this is the last page, just the top here. You sign that you're an upstanding citizen and that you watch people sign and you didn't do anything wrong, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to sign that. This is a sample of one of the 2 signatures that's on every page, this signature page in the packet. I kind of crudely marked these, but this was and they even say right here, it must be legible to be counted. The registered voter's printed name, voter signs there. The date signed, absolutely necessary. The street address, all that, absolutely necessary. Again, hopefully, just like the registrar, just like the clerk has it on their records. They ask for an email address. It's optional. If you have somebody put their email address down, we have to send them more information about how they can get their name off of this initiative. That's the only purpose for that box. The birth date is optional, but it will help us because that's one more data point that can be used to prove that it's a legitimate signature. I'm going to go through all this and then I'll be happy to take questions and we can go back through you can remember your questions. So these are resources that are not the petition or that little white card that you might use. This is the Slim Jim. Our website, we're building that as a resource. It's got the bill text, it's got the poll, it has arguments for the initiative. You can donate there, you can volunteer or just ask to be hooked up with somebody to sign the initiative. Our logo here is also on a yard sign, which is small enough you can use it at events, but you can also put it in your yard. Now, this is an interview that I did on Kate Dowley's show. If you know who she is, she actually drew out quite a bit of information about what we're doing. If you want to have something like that, you can listen to or refer your friends to. And then over here on the left is a long URL, but we can get all of you this information, I'm assuming, Eldon, and you can get a printed form. So if you want to register somebody to vote, you can do it online, but a lot of times you're not online or you don't have your laptop when you're helping us with this. So you can download this, print off some forms, just keep them with you. I think we're getting to the end here. Whoop. So before we get to the end though, we are looking for a few good men and women beyond people willing to just be volunteers and help us collect signatures. We're very appreciative of that, but we need people to help us get this organized, keep it organized, and get these petitions back in order for us to get this put on the ballot. So if you are willing to take on a little bit more responsibility, which I have some examples of the responsibility there. Please email us. The email address is down here on the bottom. It's info@securevoteutah@protonmail.com. Again, I think you're going to be able to have access to this PowerPoint afterward. And you put the regional manager and the county you're in on the subject line, and your best email address. You're emailing this. Sometimes though people have another email they want to use, phone number, your name and address, just your basics. And so we can get back to you. You know, what you'd be doing is checking these packets out and checking them back in, recruiting other leaders, helping to give people materials, helping us understand better than we can from where we are, where good places might be to put up a sign, to do doorbelling. Very important, tracking the progress of the people that are carrying these packets around and which Senate district they're in. We have all the maps. We can get people all that information so they can help us keep track of that. And then get most importantly, get the petitions in to the proper people at the proper county at the proper time. And so no petition can be out longer than 30 days. We don't have too many that will be in that deadline category. The hard deadline is February 15th to get every single petition in. But I didn't get too much into deadlines because we're actually asking where we have set up organization to have people turn them in a lot sooner, just so we can kind of see how things are going and keep in touch with the folks. And so we have already have a number of people have turned them into us. And we're going to strategically turn a few into the various counties, kind of a beta test of that process. But we are not going to turn the bulk of them in early because that would not be strategically a good idea. What about it? Thank you very much. And I don't know how Eldon wants to handle this, but I'm more than happy to answer questions, take comments.
All right, thank you so much, Lou.